Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Scrapyard. I am your host, Nathan Uphold, joined here by Tayler.
Hi!
And Xavier.
Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Full stop. Talking about Overwatch and Black Lives Matter. There's no bit. Roll intro.
You come from a land down under.
Plugging shit feels wrong in this episode, but follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Scrapyard Media.
Yo, alright, listen. Also, since everybody's on their hey, let's support Black Writers tip, follow me on Twitter at Xavier Seabass. And you can follow me on Instagram at Tom Cruise Momshoes, because apparently we're finally deciding to support black businesses and creators. So since we're doing that now, hey, support us and then
Go support
me.
Xavier.
Yeah, support the whole cause. But yeah, so everybody, like, it feels weird, like, you know, we're a weekly podcast. We got to record an episode. But it does feel weird to just, like, record normally when, you know, the world's falling apart right now. And, like, my favorite podcast, or group of podcasts, Post Wrestling, they do pro wrestling stuff. Before their Raw review, Monday Night Raw review this week, they had, like, a big discussion on what's going on, and I figured, in an effort to actually use our platform, however small it may be, to talk about what's going on, I figured we'd do it. So yeah, that's kind of the whole gist. And then later in the show, we're going to be talking about some of our Overwatch favorites, our favorite characters, ultimates, maps, players, game modes, all of our favorites about Overwatch, because honestly, like, I think the biggest thing is, I mean, yeah, we're going to, like, talk about this, but I think the biggest part of a lot of, like, you know, I guess just making content is having an effort to, I don't know, take care of yourself sometimes. And yeah, like, while our feeds are constantly filled with, you know, the police exerting crazy amounts of force and possibly violating the Geneva Convention, it's important to take care of yourself.
Definitely violating human rights.
Yeah, and it's important to just, like, take care of yourself and, I guess, have some fun. And if that means watching bad reality television like me, or just kind of keep doing what you're doing in terms of, like, work stuff, I think that's important. So I figured it's also important for us to talk about just what we really like about the game of Overwatch, because we never really talk about that. Like, we talk about the league, but, like, even Nathan, who doesn't really have, like, crazy opinions about the Overwatch League, like, plays Overwatch a lot. So, you know, it's something that we all kind of know about. But before that, obviously, we live in a police state now, apparently. And so there are mass protests all across the country. About
all 50 states.
Yep, all 50 states. Shout out to Hawaii and Alaska for...
Also Puerto Rico, which isn't a state yet, but they want to be. They might not want to be anymore, but they did.
And I mean, like, all over the world. Like, Hong Kong's showing out for us. We got France showing out. Like, it's a thing. And this all happened because cops murdered George Floyd. And something about this particular moment really got everybody, like, talking about it, and it really got people outraged. I think that's one of the biggest interesting things to me about, I guess, this whole situation is how, like, for me, like, I don't know, like, I've been mad every time a black dude got shot, and, like, Tayler can attest to this, but, like, there's been days where, like, I've just not been in the mood for anything because, oh, hey, look, this happened to this black dude today, or, you know, like, Tamir Rice or Philando Castile or fucking everybody. And I think that, you know, for me, it's more like, yeah, like, I'm outraged, but this is an outrage that I have felt oftentimes throughout my life, because this happens constantly. And this has happened constantly throughout history. And I just think it's interesting that this particular murder by police has gotten everybody else to feel that same rage that black people have felt for so long. And I don't think this type of rage has been felt. I mean, like, when Oscar Grant got murdered, like, that was felt, but that was more felt, I feel like, in the Bay Area primarily. Ferguson was probably, like, the next, like, super national event. But even then, like, it didn't feel as... The anger just didn't feel the same across all groups.
Not to, like, damper anything, but I think it was also the mix of Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery, where it was like, she got killed in her house, you know, defending herself, her and her fiance or husband, and it's like, well, they came in plain clothes, which is super illegal, and then just broke into the house, which is also like, you can't just do that. Like, you can't do that no matter what.
And that just happened with Botham Jean, like with the white police officer, with the white woman who went inside his house and killed him.
Yeah, and it's and then the clear, like, lynching of Ahmaud was like, it just all had been sitting, and then having all the different angles of George Floyd's death and murder, just, it made people realize, like, we take these videos and then still nothing happens. So this is like the one time where there was so many witnesses and they just stood their ground and were like, we're getting this information out there no matter how, like, no matter what happens to us. And I think it was like hearing the cries and like the outrage pour from like multiple people, that it's just like, we're fed up. And not only that, but like,
I think one of the factors that really, I mean, there's a lot of factors of why this particular murder has gotten as much attention, or has started so much as it did. I mean, a lot of people put it way better than I'm about to, but we're in the middle of a pandemic that has really revealed just how unequally black people and other people of color are treated, specifically black people in our healthcare system. There's a disproportionate amount of people dying or suffering from COVID-19 in the black community. And so you're sitting on top of that, you're sitting on one of the worst periods of economic failure and people losing jobs and being hungry. So people are already mad. They're already just realizing, I mean, their whole lives they've known the system's failed them. It was never built to help them in the first place. And then on top of that, they see a video of one of the most horrible murders everywhere. It was spread more than I think any other video. The video of Ahmaud Arbery, I don't recall that ever being shown on the news, because it was a gunshot and the news thought, well, that's too violent. But I think in a lot of people's heads, just seeing a man with his knee on another man's neck, on a black man's neck, a police officer with his knee on a black man's neck, with his hands in his pockets, casually taking his life on national news everywhere. There's something so much more personal about that. And I think that's why it's outraged more people than it normally would. Even people who normally would just be like, well, that's cops being cops.
Especially over something as rumored a forged $20 bill.
Yeah.
I'm sure most people didn't even know about that.
But I think...
I'm sure you, Xavier, had been working at a coffee shop and will be going back to work at a coffee shop, that, like, people come in with forged bills all the time.
It doesn't matter. And also, I think another, kind of aspect about this is, with the coronavirus, like, everybody has nothing to do. And I think that with this happening, one, this is all anybody can see, because there's no NBA, there's no baseball, there's no sports. The Jordan doc just ended, so there's no big cultural event people can watch, and so it is, all attention is on this particular moment, and people can actually go out and protest nonstop every day, because a lot of them are out of jobs, a lot of them are on reduced work schedules, so there's a lot of free time, and so these organizers can really be like, oh, like this is a good opportunity to mobilize individuals because, you know, we have the time now and we have the attention. And I think another big aspect, and there's so many aspects of why this particular case has sparked this type of outrage, but it can't be discounted. Just, I feel like the timing of everything with Amy Cooper doing her, like, I strangle my dog and then call the cops and try and get this nice dude murdered that she did.
On the
Yeah,
same day.
and then immediately after that is a video of what would have happened to that dude if Amy Cooper got her way. And then suddenly, I feel like it connected a lot of events where it's like, oh, wait, so because of this action, this could have happened. And like these two actions are connected in a way. And also, it's just,
And it's commonplace.
yeah, and I think another thing is just the fact that he was like an adult black man and the video was so clear. Because I do think like Tamir Rice, that happened and there was outrage, but the video isn't as graphic. You know what I mean? Stephon Clark out here, that video isn't as graphic as this current one, and we can just keep going. Like even Ahmaud Arbery was graphic, but it was still taken at a distance and still kind of far enough from the action.
Screen. And
Yeah.
it's like I was saying, I think people in general, like, I don't like to be one of the people who are like, video games make people violent or anything, but people are desensitized to seeing people get shot.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like the shot aspect is definitely different because when somebody's shot, I don't know, like, one, you're desensitized to it because you see it all the time, but also there's not a lot of empathy in the sense that, oh, I know what it feels like to get shot. But I feel like a lot of people do know what it's like. Even something as small as like taking a sip of water and then breathing at the same time. And then you choke for a little bit and you kind of freak out. Everybody kind of understands like what it feels like to not be able to breathe. And that combined with, you know,
Or
him
to be
being an
restrained.
older black man. Yeah, and it being a cop and the video being so close and you can hear him. That's a lot of things that kind of come with the outrage. But it is interesting that like this particular incident sparked that kind of outrage. And I think that it, you know, I do think that like if the police weren't absolutely insane right now, like they might have been able to kind of like contain the type of anger, you know, and kind of ride the wave out. But since the cops have been completely wilding right now and straight up like responding to protests about police brutality with police brutality, every day it's just been more and more anger, more and more videos coming out of these police doing heinous acts to like American citizens that, you know, this isn't something that's just going to go away now because now there's too much video. Too many people are aware of this now. Too many people are being forced to be aware of it now. And it's not something that you can just kind of go into your bubble because this is taking over every bubble. You know, no matter what, every goddamn YouTuber or whatever has made a statement on this. Every organization has made a statement on it. Everybody's sharing all these donation links and stuff. So and that's never happened before with any other case. Even Ferguson, that didn't happen. And so now we're seeing this is something that no one can escape. You're forced to see this. And I think a lot of people are kind of waking up and realizing like, oh yeah, like this is, a lot of people I'm sure have been like, oh, I've always known it was bad, but now you're being forced to really confront like the raw reality. And it's making people like, it's either making people like freak out and become more racist or like really reassess their own biases and kind of confront them in like an honest manner. And I think that's cool.
Yeah. One more thing about like the interesting thing, again, going into this general situation is how everybody says you gotta watch what you put on the internet because, you know, businesses look at your stuff, this and that, and it's always been like us as people, like, don't say that on the internet because it's gonna come back and bite you. And I know plenty of like kids who have been like double thinking what they've posted, and are like, let me fix that. And now this is like the one chance that people can be like, look, we have the evidence that this is happening to peaceful protesters, to just people in general. And because basically all of California is under some form of curfew, varying on time and
depending on your county or city.
And then they say that the only like reason you should be out past those times is if you're an essential worker. So how is that any better? Because one, it's quieting the protests and trying to like make people who are going out during these times, like, you know, they're upset that there's there's these protests which are making their businesses close down to like turn everybody against the protesters, which I know plenty of like small businesses in the area that are like, we don't give a fuck, like, let's like support the protesters.
To be fair,
but before
I was gonna say, some of these businesses were okay with being open during a pandemic that was taking hundreds of thousands of lives, not only just in our country but around the world. But now they don't want to be open because there's protests going on. And
it's also the idea of like, what if you are a nurse that's a person of color or a black woman, and they still don't care that you're in your scrubs and you're coming home from your midnight shift at the hospital? Like,
I mean, there was a girl in, I forget which city, who was walking home from buying groceries and nearly got blinded by a rubber bullet just because she was, like, walking. It just goes to show you how much these police don't care.
And one more thing before we talk about maybe some of the...
Well, I mean, you said double think, and it made me think of our fascist leader right now, so I wanted to talk about that, but I'll let you finish.
One of the things that I also think touches this video is, for a lot of, like, women, and Xavier, you recently got into watching, like, true crime documentaries and stuff, but for a lot of women, that's, like, where we kind of find oddly solace, because most of the time in a true crime documentary, it's a woman being raped, murdered, and killed. And we know that for most part, a strangulation is like a crime of like extreme passion, and cops are very passionate about killing black people. Clearly, because that's been happening in this country for centuries.
I mean, they're also like, we can see that like it's also more like passionate about exerting a level of dominance. Like, everybody's seen that video of the cop in San Jose that's like looking like he's about to like start a Call of Duty round, and he's just like, he's itching for a fight. Like, and we see this
straight up, like, and I don't want to say anything bad about the airsoft community, but he really does look like an airsofter getting ready to sprint down the left side of the field or some shit.
Yeah,
like,
for sure. And like, we see it in NYPD where like they're actively looking for reasons to assault people, like even at night, like, oh, you're outside, or they're just like breaking into people's cars and arresting them, or there's countless videos of police doing evil things. And I think it's just now, like, they've always been like this, but I think now they're just being more mask off about it. And I
mean, the first police were invented to enforce slavery, so it's not surprising.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, so I guess that's just kind of like, at least with all this, it's just one of those things where like I look at it and I'm like, wow, like finally everybody is getting to understand how I feel every time this happens. And there is something like comforting about like, all right, like I do see that the vast majority, if not everybody that I choose to look at and associate with and kind of respect within any field I do, whether it's like the people I work with on the Facebook page I manage about MMA, whether it's a large majority of like the Overwatch community, or whether it's like just friends I have. There is something comforting of knowing like, all right, like you guys are on my side. Like you guys aren't like shitty and you know, all lives mattering me. Like they're all genuinely as angry as me, and there is something of like, all right, like you understand me, like we're in this together. And yeah, like I just don't see this necessarily slowing down anytime soon, simply because every day cops are going to be doing some stupid shit. And every day that's just going to rile people up more, because they can't help themselves to to beat up civilians. Like it's just something that a lot of these cops just simply can't help themselves. And they've been waiting for some action for so long that now they're kind of relishing in this. And it's super sad to say, but like you look at it and it feels true. Like it feels like, oh, you've been waiting for this. You've been waiting for this time to really live out your weird LARPy fantasies of being like this hard ass. And
I mean, they're being spurred on by our fascist dictator Trump. Like every
who's
statement
allowing
he's
them
making,
to do this.
He's not just allowing them; he's endorsing for them to do it. Like if you look at anything he said about protests in his entire time campaigning or anything, it's always been beat them down, like horrible
Assert
rhetoric,
dominance. All
I mean, he gassed nuns to take a picture in front of a church. Or I'm sorry, they didn't gas them. They just used smoke grenades and pepper spray bullets. They didn't use tear gas though. Let me make sure Fox News hears me saying the correct chemical weapons they used against nuns to take a picture in front of a church holding a Bible upside down. And I mean, I'm not religious, but even I know, you know, you don't fucking commit a war crime to take a picture in front of a church that didn't want you taking a picture there.
So obviously, before we drag some people, there's like a link in the description so you can donate. That'd be cool. There's like other ways to help. You can just and like
I mean, if you go on any of our Twitters right now, we've retweeted a bunch of that stuff.
Yeah.
I'll be any of the things that we haven't retweeted onto the Scrapyard page. I'll make a thread and try to compile a bunch of them on our Scrapyard.
Yeah, and even if like
Twitter.
You're broke and have zero platform, I don't know, just like don't be shitty. And
if you're broke, there are
like,
ways
you know,
to
that's
donate.
something.
There's projects out there.
Watch YouTube videos.
Yeah, exactly. That add
there's
revenues
ways
going.
But I think the biggest thing is like just don't be an asshole. And I think
if you're voting age, be ready to vote in November.
For sure, and don't try and like Bernie or bust anything, because
it's not gonna.
We're not allies after that. However, so during all this, like, it's all like I understand why, but it almost became comical yesterday, where I'm like, what company next is going to make some like statement about police brutality? Like, you know, like, oh, are the people that make the paper plates I use, are they going to hit me up on email and be like, we are firmly against the murder of George Floyd and police brutality? Like, everybody is coming out with like a statement. And, you know, part of me is like, obviously some of it is like, all right, like this is a PR dude writing it because like you have to. But there is something powerful about like kind of having to force all these big corporations to talk about this and make a statement. That is something to show like public pressure does matter, and we can force these companies to like say something and force them to do something.
Want to say anything
like
about
Infinity War?
Pressure,
yeah,
I was gonna say the other 4 cops being brought up on charges and his charges getting Chauvin's getting upgraded to 2nd degree. That didn't happen because of voting or anything. Even though I said go out and vote, that happened because of these protests.
And if you
that would have never happened if these protests didn't happen.
Also, can we talk about how his name is literally the root of chauvinism? Like, how fucking appropriate is that? Like, you could not write a better fucking thing for the history books.
Yeah. Also, companies like that never spoke out about any of the other situations that have happened, like women's rights, the children locked up in cages, Ferguson, 4 years ago when the nation wept because they voted Trump into the office. Like, if you can get a company like Disney to donate money, and I mean, I think billions of dollars it has come out to, not just like Disney itself, but like Pixar, Marvel.
Yeah, like all their they
like,
own everything.
Yeah, well, yes, but
yeah,
like,
they own all of it.
But
Yeah,
to
all
have
their
like
companies.
Anyone who
each of the-
donates is donating in Disney's name.
But to have each of these different, and like people that are just in the like animation studio, it's like, yeah, I donated a good chunk of my money also to this that isn't specifically doing it because Disney told them to, but they, you know, because they're like, this needs to be done. It's impressive. It's
Yeah, but like, you know, like Infinity Ward finally started like increasing bans and like trying to cut down on people having racist names, which is like, wow, who would have thought? Like maybe you'd want to do that in your game. And that would have never happened if like these companies didn't feel almost forced to do something. This is a weird example, but what is it, like the AVN, like the adult movie thing, like they announced that they're like removing like the interracial categories on their stuff, which is like, wow, like that would never happen with these protests. Like all these companies are donating and sharing, you know, donation links and really getting people to be aware of all this, and then companies are taking extra steps. But I just think I think that's cool that this level of public pressure has kind of forced companies to do something. And you know, the people that, and this is going to kind of segue into talking about the Boston uprising, and the NFL, but those that people don't want to hear from, like, we let them hear it. And you know, there are statements that do come off tone deaf, and you need to be critical of them.
Yeah.
But, you know, but being like wantonly like, oh, any corporation that comes out with something, because there are people in those organizations that are genuinely good people and do want to use that platform for good. And you just kind of need to look at each of these statements and be like, all right, what's your general history about these type of things? And also, what does this statement convey? And like the NFL tweeted Black Lives Matter and everybody dunked on them because obviously, come on, son.
Yeah.
Like, let's chill. The 49ers tweeted about Black Lives Matter, everybody dragged them. And the Boston Uprising tweeted about all of this and made a statement. And the statement was bad, but it was bad and expected because they are owned by Robert Kraft, who is...
To be fair, technically the statement is from the Kraft family through Boston Uprising.
Yeah.
So
if you're owned by Robert Kraft, homie that kicks it with Trump and owns the, you know, Patriots and is an NFL owner, like, yeah, he's not going to get it. He is going to do some dog whistly all lives matter stuff. Like, this is just what you expect. And I think that you just need to assess these different organizations as they do. And remember who doesn't say it. Remember who's like completely silent. Remember who, like the Boston Uprising, come out with some trash statement. Just kind of look and be like, all right, which companies are down with you? And if you do have the choice to support a company that did make an honest statement and made a good contribution versus a company that chose to all lives matter this situation, then, hey man, like, Republicans always say, like, you know, vote with your dollar. And, vote with your dollar. Like, support the companies that actually try to do something right now and actually tried to make some kind of an effort to address what's going on or do anything, but also like hold these people accountable, because I think a big part of looking at this is like, yeah, like, glad you made a statement, but also what about your hiring practices? What about your actual leadership? What about these tangible things that you can do? You can't do it right now. You can't suddenly change your hiring practices. That's stupid. We're in the middle of a pandemic and it's short notice. But in a year, like, can you make some effort to improve your hiring practices or look for instances of bias within your own company? Is that something you can do? Is that something you can help? specifically with gaming companies. Can you make these games a better place for literally any minority ever to play? Whether it's Infinity Ward kind of using more filters to cut out like racist names, or whether, you know, companies are just more liberal with bans and you know, kind of policing their game. And it's the same with anything. Like, yeah, you made a statement, but like, what are you going to do after that? And hopefully a lot of people understand that like this has been a fight that like Black people have been doing for decades upon decades, and organizers have been doing for decades upon decades. So, you know, if you're in it now, like, keep going and keep being loud about it, because this could be like, you know, a moment that's like a history book type moment. And if you want to see like actual change, like, yeah, you got to kind of put some work in, and pressure. Like, I think the biggest thing that we learned about this is that like pressure works, and all those dumbass conservatives that were saying, oh, what are your protesting going to do? Vote, blah, blah, blah. Like, look at what it's already done, and look at what it has the potential to further do. And, you know, like, everybody was praising, like, all these weird, like, right-wingers were, like, rooting all the Hong Kong protesters, but it's like, dog, we're doing the same thing. And, you know, they're on our side, so, like, what's good? I don't know what to tell you. However, like, yet again, self-care is important. And so I wanted to, you know, kind of do something more positive and not be like all doom and gloom, because that's bad for your mental health, and we've already been stuck in our houses for months on end, so we don't really need anything else piling on. So I figured we'd talk about our Overwatch favorites. And we don't ever talk about like the actual game. Like, for all everybody knows, none of us actually play Overwatch. And we just talk about it. Like, for all anybody knows, like, yeah, like, we don't play Overwatch. So I figured it'd be nice to actually talk about the game itself and our favorite things about the game. And, like, 2 topics about, like, the league, but mostly just kind of about the game and what we enjoy about it. Because I do think a lot of people, even in, like, just regular esports, like, never talk about actually playing Overwatch anymore. And, like, you know they do, but, like, I feel like people, you know, there is a giant distinction between people that are super into, like, competitive Overwatch and, like, people that just spam No Limits and Mystery Heroes all day and have fun. So, yeah. In our effort to actually show that we play Overwatch, just figured we'd talk about, I guess, some of our favorites, because it is a great game. And it's been it's like 4-year anniversary of Overwatch, so
yeah, the 4-year anniversary just passed, so yeah. So,
oh man, I just realized I could have done a really good bit where I take all my stuff from like, the fuck was that game? It's like the Overwatch clone.
Paladins?
Yeah, I should have just, everything should have been from Paladins instead. I was gonna say Valorant, but I don't feel like that's fair. I feel like Paladins would have been
No, Paladins is a direct Overwatch ripoff.
Oh, yeah.
I tried playing it a couple times. It really made me appreciate how good Overwatch is. I was like...
Damn, that's saying a lot, too.
Yeah, that's saying a lot for a game that's basically one step away from being busted all the time.
Hey, but they have a working piano, dog.
Yeah, but they got that working piano, so it don't matter. Speaking of working piano, I guess we can just jump around this list. Let's start with map. Favorite map.
Is that where we want to start?
Why not?
Sure.
I guess, okay. Taylor, I know what yours is.
Yeah.
Okay, no, we need to call me out. My favorite map is Junkertown.
Oh, I thought it was Hanamura.
Well, Hanamura is like my second, but Junkertown's my favorite. When we were first throwing around the idea of doing this podcast, I had been like, Xavier and Nathan had both been like, we have to think of something that's not just what everybody else does. It can't have, like, it can't be Omnic, it can't be this, it can't be that. Like, it needs to be something where it's good, like, it's perfect. And I think it was just when Junkertown came out, and I was like, why not the Scrapyard? Like, it's Overwatch related. It can be something else if we end up having to have it be something else. And I don't know, Junkertown is like a long payload map that's just super fun, and it's totally different between each of the points in comparison to like a lot of the other games. Like other maps where it's just like
Nimbani, like you don't get much variation during the payload part.
Yeah, there's not a lot of difference, and even Eichenwald is pretty like...
Yeah, really, Eichenwald doesn't do... I mean, both of those are hybrids, not full payload maps.
And it like Dorado is all the same up until you get inside the
yeah, that's fair.
Like inside the building. So I just thought Junkertown goes from like the outback into like the city, and then into like the Queens, like the scrapyard. And I just thought it was a really cool concept, and I think it's one of their best maps for literally all of the heroes. Like, it's so perfectly, like, you can play Widow. It is one of
their best maps.
You can play Hanzo, you can play literally anything, and I just always thought that was a very nice payload map. Has to be my favorite.
I think my favorite for sure... Like, I have a couple that, like, I thoroughly enjoy playing. I think, like, my favorites are... I really enjoy playing on Rialto. It might just be because, like, I feel like I play well on it, and I understand the map. But I think Rialto just does have, like, interesting, like, points that are very difficult to break. And I don't know, I kind of like that. Like, the second streets part, like, that corner before you get to the second point is, like, really hard to take. But there's something satisfying about actually breaking through that. And I think... Even that, like, last point on Rialto, which is excruciatingly hard to kind of take in, like, quick play or something, I do really like that part of escort maps where it's, like, a difficult point to take that, I don't know, you feel, like, successful when you do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I also just like Rialto just because I enjoy the actual map, like, the way it looks. I think out of all the maps, it's one of my favorite maps in terms of just, like, actual setting. And kind of its general vibe. So that's probably, like, my favorite map just in terms of, like, oh, this is neat. You know, I like kind of seeing it. But I think probably one of my most enjoyable maps that I ever end up playing is Nepal.
Nepal's a good map.
Nepal is a good
map. I think the thing with Nepal is, like, Sanctum, Shrine, and Village are all so completely different in how you can play it and what comps work well on different sides, that you do have the opportunity to kind of, like, try different comps each round of control, or mix things up and mix your strategies up. And it's kind of the same with Ilios, which I think everybody agrees is, like, one of their best maps, like, period.
Yeah, it's, like, peak map, like, for everybody.
Yeah, like, the thing with Nepal is just every map type does have, you know, every map has, like, a specific style of comp that can work on it. And I don't know, I just enjoy that, like, level of diversity, you know, versus something like, I don't know, I guess a lot of people might hate, you know, talk trash, but, like, I think something like Hollywood I don't enjoy as much, just because I don't like the way that particular choke is designed, and I think that choke is almost too tight, and sometimes it's excruciatingly hard to kind of get through that first choke. But even, like, Hollywood I like. Like, I don't really hate any Overwatch maps.
It's really interesting you mentioned Hollywood. Because I actually had this was one of the hardest ones for me to pick my favorite for. Because, like, coming to the map design thing, especially with long payload maps, I really like Gibraltar. I have said out loud that it's my favorite map before. Because while it feels different in all three sections of the map, because there are three very well-defined sections. There's the start, the inside, the end. And even though the, like, front third and the back third are kind of similar, they do have their own distinct challenges and distinct, like, angles and stuff like that. And I also love, one of my favorite things about Gibraltar is when you're inside during the middle portion of the map, it manages to feel claustrophobic without actually being claustrophobic. Like, you can still play Pharah in there, even though it feels like you wouldn't be able to. But I also thought maybe Ilios, because that was the first map I ever played on during the beta of Overwatch. So I was like, oh, maybe Ilios. Then I was like, I don't really have that many good memories besides being terrified of Reaper while playing as Tracer on Ilios. Like, that was the first time I ever played Overwatch. But really, I do think Hollywood is my favorite map. For the exact reason you said you don't necessarily like it, it is super challenging sometimes. It is always a hard fight on Hollywood, no matter what. It always feels like constant, just scrappy battle. And I think because I'm a person who enjoys games that are, you know, much more adversarial, such as like Call of Duty, Rainbow Six, and, well, Rainbow Six doesn't really fit in, but like Call of Duty and Titanfall 2, I really like both those games because there's such a like feeling of just pushing and pushing and pushing and like just fighting so hard. And sometimes you steamroll on that map, which is one of my favorite memories, is when I steamrolled as Torbjorn and then ran it back. And my favorite memory of Overwatch was spawn camping an entire team by myself as Genji on Hollywood. It was the greatest moment of Overwatch in my entire life. And because of things like that, I think that's why Hollywood is my favorite map. And also, you can't necessarily play like any comp, but I feel like if you're in a really loose, like arcade game mode, it's a map that it's really easy just to play any character on. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't really feel restricted by anything.
Yeah, no, I feel that. And how about, since we're talking about game modes and arcades, how about we talk about our favorite game mode? Xavier, you go ahead. You tell them.
Favorite game mode? Probably... Alright, so I'm going to split this into two different sections. On PC and on PlayStation. So here's why I'm making this distinction. On PC, I'm trash at Overwatch. Simply because mouse and keyboard doesn't work for me. I've spent my entire life playing on a PlayStation controller, and that's why I like playing on PlayStation, because it's an input I've been spending my whole life on. And I don't spend my whole life using mouse and keyboard to play games like that. So I'm going to split this. So on PC, where my input level is a little bit more difficult, I do just like classic quick play. And obviously you do run into some of like the frustrations of, oh god, we only have one healer, oh, I hate this game. Or you run into the frustrations of like weird team comps. I do like open queue quick play as just kind of a more loose style of Overwatch. You get to kind of mess around with some DPS and not sit and wait for 10 minutes. You get to try out some different comps. You get to mess around a little bit more. And I enjoy that. And I also just like the quicker games. But on PlayStation, where my true heart lies, the best game mode is Mystery Heroes. It's facts, because on PlayStation, I know how to play everybody. I'm not great at everybody, but I know how to play as everything. And I think Mystery Heroes is... Sometimes it can be awfully frustrating. Like when the defending team lucks out and gets like Bastion, Torb, Symmetra, and like 2 shields or something. Like, yeah, that might be irritating. But that game's going to be over in a few minutes anyway, so who cares? Queue up for the next one. But I enjoy Mystery Heroes just because... I don't know, like it forces you to try new things, and it forces you to adapt while also being kind of stupid fun, but not completely broken like Total Mayhem might be. It's just like a nice like balancing point for me. And like I've played a lot of, like, there are some characters that like I only have a couple hours of time on simply because I've played so much Mystery Heroes over the past several years. Like, it's the only time I ever used, like, Widow or something, is when I'm on Mystery Heroes. So, I just think Mystery Heroes is such a cool concept, and it's just always fun. I don't know, that's kind of my favorite.
It's funny, because your game mode, your reasoning for it, like, where you get to play as all characters and kind of your skill is really tested, goes into mine, because my favorite game mode, and I was so happy when it was implemented, is Hero Gauntlet. If you've ever played any video game with me, you'll know my favorite game mode in any shooter since Black Ops 2, because that was one of the first like shooters I played multiplayer a lot of, because that's when I was, old enough to actually know what the fuck was going on in video games, was Gun Game. Because I just like the challenge, and there's something so good feeling about just getting like headshot, swap gun, shotgun, like that feeling. Nothing beats that high in video games to me. Like literally nothing else does that good. And also I do enjoy game modes where you just are, it's a free-for-all. I like not having to depend on a team, especially in Overwatch, where that can be one of the most frustrating aspects, is like, I mean, that's also everyone's excuse, but having like a Reinhardt that just never uses their shield and just thinks, I have enough health.
Yeah, you like the game modes where it's all like, if I lose, it's on me, and me being bad.
Like I can be mad at myself and not like, and then like I can improve, because when I feel like I'm playing really good in a normal game, but it ends up not mattering because I'm playing as like soldier on DPS and the rest of my team is throwing, then like it kind of feels like, okay, I don't know what I could have done better because I didn't feel like I was a problem. But in like Hero Gauntlet, I always know what I could do better. Like I always know what to work on. I'm always getting hella mad at that game mode, but I keep playing it because it is addictive for me when I do well. And it's so different than anything else in the game, in my opinion, besides like maybe the one where it's Mystery Hero Free-for-All basically. Like that's the closest approximation. But I just think it's a really fun game mode, and I feel like people don't talk about it a lot, at least in my experience, and I personally love it. That's just me, though.
My personal favorite game mode is, and I mean, like, you both yell at me for playing it all the time, because you're like, why the fuck are you playing this, Taylor? But I really like Total Mayhem, because, one, it's so chaotic.
That's exactly why I hate it.
I know that's exactly why I hate it.
It's like one step too chaotic past Hero Gauntlet.
It's so chaotic, but there is something to finding which heroes are really good in Total Mayhem. I love playing Junkrat because being able just to like, and it's not even like his proximity mine or whatever. It's the trap, where if you know how to play it with the trap, you can catch like Moira slipping and other like people slipping. So I really like playing Junkrat, but I also really enjoy playing Moira on that map, because the ability to just stall the payload long enough with healing orbs by your fucking self and they can't touch you.
Oh, it's so fun. It is pretty fun.
It's so fun.
It's a very similar feeling to being like in last in Hero Gauntlet and just popping off up to first.
And the fact that it's only on the payload maps, that you can only play it on those kind of the hybrid and like the payload maps. It makes those choke points that Xavier was complaining about with Hollywood, and then other maps, when you finally break a team's defense, or you get, like, you just steamroll teams, it's, like, a lot more fun, and I just enjoy that game mode the most, because I know that I don't have to completely rely on, like, a support if I'm playing, like, a tank, Diva, Roadhog, etc., because I have enough life, and if I am a support, I know that I also won't immediately get melted if I get chased after. I can get out of the way, especially as someone like Lucio or Moira. So I enjoy that game mode just as like an extreme challenge.
For sure.
And oh gosh, we have so many things on this list.
Yeah, I know. Like, how do you? What's the best segue from here? I think personally, best event.
Okay.
Would be a good segue, just because, that does kind of play into game mode. Yeah. And I feel like I know what Taylor's is, but I'll let her talk.
No, you go ahead. You go first.
Okay, so my favorite event is the sleeper event. It's the holidays, because I love, for the same reasons, May's snowball fight. That game mode is so goddamn fun, and I swear to God, it is the highest skill game mode in Overwatch. There's literally no higher skill game mode in Overwatch than May's snowball fight. I will fight you on that.
I respect that. Now, Nathan probably thinks that my favorite event is the Halloween event.
No, I know it's Uprising.
No, it's the Archives event.
Exactly.
I love the different story-driven, like, 4-person team kind of play, like, game modes that come with the Archives events. And I'm really into them giving these characters more lore in the game than just, like, having to read or watch a cinematic or a comic. And Archives has, I think, the best game mode, which is, Blackwatch? The Blackwatch game mode? I don't remember what it's called, but...
Shit, why can't I think of its name? Because there's Uprising... I don't even know what the newest one is, but the Blackwatch one is called, like, Revenge or some shit.
Yeah, it's like Revenge or something.
I don't remember.
But the Archives event is definitely, like, my favorite out of all of the, like, events, closely tied with Halloween, but that's because I started playing when the Halloween event was happening, so it only makes sense that those things kind of stick with you.
So I don't play any of, like, the event game modes. It's just, like, something I've never been, like, super into.
Retribution, that's the name of it, sorry.
Ah.
But I ain't gonna front. So I can only really go off this by, like, which event has my favorite skins. And
that's fair. That's also one of the reasons I like the holiday event.
And so out of all the skins that I have that I think are the best, I think Lunar New Year is my favorite event. Simply because the skins are really cool, but I also think, like, a lot of the skins have just, like, this interesting history behind them. And I don't know, like it really gets across how interesting the characters in Overwatch are, but how interesting a lot of the skins are in Overwatch, and how much kind of care gets put into them. Yeah, so, like, most of the skins that I have on my current Overwatch characters are Lunar New Year skins. Like, Mei skin, I have the Lunar New Year one on, I have the Zarya one on, I have the Ana mask one on, which is probably one of my favorites. I think it was Moira who had a skin that everybody hated, but then I read about, like, the history behind the skin, and it's, like, some, like, you know, deep-ass, like, Korean history type stuff, and I like that skin, and I don't know, I just think that event in particular has a lot of the best skins. And I guess in terms of, like, actual, like, game modes, if I had to pick that, Junkenstein's Revenge is probably my favorite, like, event game that I play.
That makes sense.
I like being McCree and getting 300 insta-kills out of a 6-shot revolver, too.
Yeah.
Play the game.
Don't know how he did that.
Don't question it. It's cowboy magic.
But if I can be honest, my favorite event is Anniversary, because I can get all the skins that I didn't have enough coins to get in the previous events. But that's, like, a totally different motivation.
Yeah, I totally feel that. And then, I guess...
Go on.
Moving on to the next...
I feel like skins is the next best one.
Just skins in particular in the game. Now you can only pick your all-time favorite skin for every character. Only one out of all of the characters.
Oh, I thought you were about to say we go through all 30 characters and, like, pick a skin.
No, totally. No, your one top favorite skin from one character out of all the characters in Overwatch. I said that really back-ass words, but you get the idea. We're picking one skin. Now, I guess it's my turn because I've had everybody else go first.
Yeah.
Oh, this is hard.
Yeah.
I'm going first. I have no idea.
I know what my favorite skin is.
Okay.
I don't know the name. Wait, I gotta look up the name. Okay, yeah. So, my favorite skin is the coolest skin in the entire game. It's the formal Doomfist skin. It's the coolest skin. It's the coolest skin in the game. It's either the formal Doomfist skin or the jazzy Lucio skin. because I like how on the Jazzy Lucio skin his music changes.
Oh, yeah.
But the coolest skin of all time is the formal Doomfist skin.
See, that's funny.
That's my favorite.
Because I was thinking through Doomfist also, because I really like his, like, swamp creature one, because you can see his footprints, like, when he's, like, walking, they're, like, wet. But I think my favorite skin is Sombra's mask skin that she just got, that has, like, the face changer, the face shifter, or whatever. I just think the fact that it goes through a bunch of the different characters in the design, and you can see it on her gun changing, and it's altogether a really beautiful and fitting skin for her, it has to be, like, my favorite. That, and then Torbjorn's beach skin. Like, that is so funny to me that he has, like, the, like, flippers and, like, the, like, all of that, and just his turret's a water gun. It's really funny to me, but it has to be those two skins when I think of, like, best skin, my favorite skin in the game.
See, this is actually really hard for me, because I love the formal Doomfist. That's one of my favorite skins in the game, for sure. It's definitely the best Doomfist skin.
Hands down. Hands down,
100%. It's probably the best skin for anyone in Talon in general. It's probably the best DPS skin, even. I have, like, a really hard time with this, because, like, there's so many good skins that mean so many different things, and, like, the events do the same thing. But I was trying to think, like, what is one skin where, like, it came out and it was like, this is the skin I absolutely need. And that one was either the Griefheart or the Baldric skin for Reinhardt.
Okay.
Just because at the time it came out, I was, like, hardcore Reinhardt main. I was, like, the peak of my Reinhardt play. But it was also just this super cool skin where it had, like, this awesome story to it. Like, the Griefheart one specifically, where it's like, oh, this is, like, it tells a story, and it was such an interesting thing and, like, a cool addition to lore in the world. And I've just always liked Reinhardt as a character. He's super fun, where he's, like, this kind of, like, almost childish old dude cosplaying as a knight. Like, he's always been a fun character to me. And I just think like, those two skins, first of all, look just fucking super cool. There's a lot of really cool details on them. But then also you have, like, a great story behind the skins. And out of all the skins, they were two that I really, really, really wanted. The only other one that I really liked was for the Summer Games, when they gave Reaper the, like, biker skin. I really like that one, just because of the reasoning being that Soldier has the, like, stunt driver, stunt biker skin, and so they made, like, evil version of that for Reaper. I was really into, and I would love to see a, like, Speed Racer style cinematic of them fighting.
Oh, that would be so funny.
But it's even better because both of their faces are covered, so they can't even do, like, the shitty dub thing as part of the bit.
Oh. Now, we could go to, like, cinematic from what you said, but I think we should stay on skins and talk about, like, favorite, to get this stuff out of the way, because we don't want to talk too much about Overwatch League. Overwatch League team skin that's in the game. What would be favorite? And
even though they're dog shit,
yeah.
My favorite skins, I like the OG shock skins. I don't like the new ones as much, just because they don't, like, show up. Like, they don't feel as special as, like, the bright ass orange ones. But I think so. Either I'm gonna go with Shanghai. They're really good. I don't know, I just like the red and the yellow kind of look.
Mm-hmm.
Or, alright, so Shanghai, Florida, or Toronto, even though they're dog shit. But I like Toronto's color scheme. But Florida and Shanghai have the coolest color scheme, and I think their skins look the best on the most heroes.
Yeah.
With Toronto being, like, a really close third place.
So, my favorite, just real quick, because it should be kind of easy. I agree with you. I feel
like you've said it a bunch of times.
Yeah, I agree with you about the OG shock skin. Like, I have a bunch of the new ones because I gotta support the boys, but it's still better, the OG one, because it was so bright and obnoxious. But my favorite, like, is Hangzhou Spark, because it's like baby pink, baby blue. Like, it's so pretty to see in the game. And then, obviously, it has to be the new Florida Mayhem skin. Because it's just like, they rebranded and they stopped being McDonald's and they started having this, like, super clean black, blue, pink. Like, those colors together, like, all those colors are so good.
That, like, Vice vibe is so perfect for them. My favorite, however, I'm gonna go edgy and say Soul Dynasty. Especially because everyone's like, Soul Dynasty Genji is the best skin in Overwatch. Or they were when those skins first came out. I do really enjoy the, like, black and gold. It just looks nice. Like, there's certain characters where I've, like, never really felt like they had a nice formal style skin. And that kind of has that, like, Gucci vibe with the black and gold that I really like. Just to be like, you know, a flex. It's a very flexy skin, which I think is very fitting for Soul Dynasty.
For sure.
Yeah, and then I guess we'll just pop straight over to Overwatch League team favorite.
1, 2, 3, the Shock.
The Shock.
Yeah, see? It's obvious we're a Shock fan.
We're from the Bay. Of course we like the Shock.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious. We might as well just get that out of the way now while we still have the chance. So now
that might as well be in our bio for our channel.
Yeah, basically, hey, can we get a shout out? I guess we'll just pop over to then player, which doesn't have to be a player in the Overwatch League. It can just be somebody who streams Overwatch also, I figured, because if we limit it to just like
Lee Daniel Avidan of the game group. No, I'm kidding.
If we just put it to like people that play the game, then we don't have to be like, oh, let's sit here and think of like Dante and Super and
That's when you say that because I really like Dante and Super.
Yeah, I know. It's the persons that comes to mind, but I guess that way we don't have to just talk about Overwatch League players, which we do all the time. I opened it up to having it be just players in general, because I think that's important to have. Like, shout out.
I'm not even going to further explain my choice. It's profit. So.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know why. I don't even know why I didn't think of that. If I'm not doing an Overwatch League player, it's whoever, because I assume they also play the game, wrote the I'm already Tracer, because that is the greatest Overwatch League meme of all time. I'm sorry, Overwatch meme of all time. If I'm picking a League player, I think, honestly, Ryu Jae-hong, just because he's a fucking god. And he's just got great energy, because he most of the time is just like there, but he's a fucking force to be reckoned with, and I really appreciate that about him. That's it. I don't really have strong opinions about players.
I'm gonna go with the power couple, Fran and Dante.
That's fair.
Oh, they broke up, dog.
Oh, damn. Take it back. I'm gonna go with Fran and not Dante, because I don't care about him that much. His streams are kind of boring. Like,
Damn. Taylor decided to make this an entire call out for Dante. This is the second time she's called out Dante specifically this episode.
Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
no, it's just, I like Fran because what she does is actually, like, when she does do Overwatch related content and, like, holds tournaments and stuff, it's actually enjoyable, and we've talked about that before, and I just think she's smart with how she, like, does things, and it's somebody that the league should have really looked into getting, like, behind on, like, producing and something, because she does really good things, and I think that's important to keep in mind. So, what next, Nathan? What next on this list of...
Well, now we're all into, like, specific, very game-related things, or very lore-related things. So, I'd say we could just probably go down the list, because I feel like that'll go together pretty well. Maybe we could move emote up further, but I think we just should... Are you cool with doing character right now, Xavier, or do you feel like that should be like our coup de grace?
I mean, we could do it right now.
Yeah. Okay, so favorite character. I'll let you take the lead on this one.
The best character is Moira. No, I'm kidding. Nah, my favorite character is somebody that I don't like playing. Genji. I think Genji is... I'm not good at Genji, but I think Genji is one of those characters that is so... It feels so unique to Overwatch.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the character designs that when I think of why Overwatch is so brilliant, it's characters like Genji, who... The skill set you need to be like really good at Genji is so different than any other FPS.
Yeah.
And the idea of Genji is so different than what you would see in any other first-person shooter. So I think Genji, just in terms of like what I appreciate, it's definitely Genji. But in terms of like characters that I actually play and am good at, I think it's a toss-up between Zarya and Zenyatta. Zarya, just because I do like the bubble mechanic and how much value you can get out of kind of using your barriers, but also how much damage you can output. It's a real... She's a support tank. Like, she does things to really support the team, but she's also able to take a lot of damage and really kind of soak up some things, but also put out like crazy amounts of damage and really lead the fight. And I find myself when I play Zarya, I'm able to kind of dictate the pace of the game a lot more just by how aggressive I'm playing. And I think Zenyatta's the same, because Zenyatta is one of like the ultimate team kind of guys. Like if you have a Zenyatta on your team that's only calling out his discords, that is such an advantage over the enemy team. Because suddenly, if you're playing Zenyatta and you're suddenly like, Discord Zarya, suddenly everybody's going to jump on Zarya. And it's just kind of this cool way of controlling the game without really needing to be like an actual team and be like, hey guys, we need to focus this Mei. You can just be like, Discord Mei, and everybody's going to suddenly be like, oh yeah, we can kill Mei. But I think Discord Harmony Orb is just a cool concept. And he can put out a lot of damage.
Yeah. The thing about Zenyatta is I feel like he actually fits, maybe besides Mercy, the name support pretty much better than any other current support. Like,
I think Ana is up there too, because her anti-heal nades and sleep darts
that's fair,
are pretty good.
I feel like, especially like starting at Ana, she was kind of like the last leg of being like a support, not just a healer. Because like Moira's kit is even very similar to Ana's in my opinion, where it's just like, oh, heal or do damage. And
like,
I feel like
Moira is basically a heal bot. You know, like just a lot of heals.
Yeah, but like Zenyatta is a support in like that Discord role, like you were saying. Like he's not just there to heal. He can, but that's not like all he's there to do. He's there to like debuff, which is a very like MMORPG, or not even MMORPG, but yeah, an RPG, MMORPG type of thing of like debuffs and buffs versus just like healing and damage. And I think that's why like Ana kind of fits that as well. And I really like that aesthetic. You know what's interesting?
I don't play League of Legends like at all anymore. Like I just kind of got bored of it. But what I really appreciate, and I think that the design space in Overwatch might be a little different in terms of like, I feel like you just need a lot of healing. But I do appreciate with League, like their supports aren't just healers. They have healers, but they do have supports that, you know, do CC. They have supports that, you know, have like Roadhog hooks basically. And they have supports that do a lot of give buffs and debuffs. And I think Overwatch could, you know, I think at this point, like support is so synonymous with healer that I don't think we can really have a support that doesn't do healing. But I would really like if in Overwatch 2 we could explore the design space to have supports that do more than healing and do like really, really good utility or buff your team or something. And you're trading something off because you don't have like a second healer, but you're gaining something by maybe getting like, I don't know, buffs or you know, a turret or vision somewhere, like, you know, something like that. I think would be really cool design space to explore, because we do have like support-ish character, like Roadhog can be a support with his hook.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Brigitte, I almost forgot about, but it's just because the game is designed in such a way that it's like, oh, well, she's basically like a DPS.
Yeah, and Brig is interesting because she is like super meta right now, but like I feel like her utility, like I don't think a lot of people understand like her real utility and kind of what she can actually bring outside of like CC, but like with armor packs and stuff. I think a lot of people don't understand how much healing a Brig can put out while also helping kind of lead the fight.
I think that's the same with Baptiste, because like when he does the like self heal, he's technically also putting out healing to like people around, and I feel like a lot of Baptiste players don't realize like, hey, when I do this, like, let me heal up, I'm also healing like the members around me. And it's not just like a Baptiste fault for being like, oh, let me use this, like, heal myself real quick, but it's also like teammates being like, oh, don't go around this, because I think for so long, and especially when it gets to upper playing like people, that they're like, well, our healers used to be Ana Zen, which is like backline, so why would we group up with our support when they're backline? Or Mercy, where it's like, you're supposed to be with the Pharah, like, why are you here? Why are you like, what's going on? And it's like, I think that's like still the mentality. But Nathan, you never said who your favorite character was.
No, did you yet?
No.
I was gonna let you go. Well, I mean, we were having a conversation about Xavier still.
I know, but I was thinking how you had not said it yet.
I had, again, a hard time choosing this because I really, 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 really like McCree. Partially because I love Matthew Mercer, but also just because I love the idea that, like, in a world where there's space gorillas and, like, witches and people with, like, literal superpowers like Reaper, you have a
robots.
Cowboy. You have a fucking robots. You have Cowboy. Like, I just love that. It's so ridiculous to me. It's almost as ridiculous as the ninja, but I feel like ninjas are more of, like, a thing that gets thrown into sci-fi in general. Like, Metal Gear is a perfect example. So, like, to have just a cowboy is really funny to me, but I feel like the character that fits even less into, but somehow more, is Roadhog. Roadhog is actually my favorite character from a character standpoint. I like playing as him. I'm better as Roadhog than I am as McCree, I personally believe. His story is great. He is one of the best stories, I think, like the most underrated storylines out of any of the characters in Overwatch. His design is amazing. Like, he's got this great Mad Max vibe while also still being original. He's ridiculous. He's this massive, massive lad, biggest character in the game, or at least was. And his aesthetic is just so, like, well-rounded. Like, he is perfect. He is exactly what he wants to be, or, like, what they want him to be, and he is exactly, like, what he needs to be. And he is somehow more weird, but less weird than McCree, in the way that it's like, why is a cowboy here at all? But because of what he is, it makes sense. And I think Roadhog does more for the lore than McCree does. Like, McCree's an interesting character, but if he didn't exist, it doesn't impact the world as much. McCree impacts characters in Overwatch lore more than, like, Roadhog does. But Roadhog doesn't... Roadhog is a way to, like, is a storytelling device where he's not a character. He's more of, like, a character that is a remnant of an event that happened. Like, he really shows, like, what the Omnic War did. And I think that's really interesting. And I also just like his gameplay. He's an awesome character. He had the most health at one point. He had self-healing that has changed so many times, but it was still always great to just be like, I don't have my hook, but you still can't kill me with your ult, Reaper, fuck you. And then when you did have your hook, the Reaper would be like, I'm so cool, let me teleport in from the shadows, and you just fucking hook his ass and one-shot him. Like, nothing feels better than that. And also just the fact that he has, like, a fucking trash blunderbuss, like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
He's so great. He is literally the most beautiful character. Like, Junkrat is close to him, but Junkrat isn't as interesting to me as Roadhog, Mako Rutledge, is.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like McCree gets devalued by Ash existing. Like, having another cowboy makes it less weird.
Yeah.
Just saying. Like, they have a cool dynamic, but just being the one cowboy in this world for some reason, I think is funnier than being one of two cowboys.
Yeah.
Like,
so...
Go ahead.
That's like a very good point, but like you're right. Roadhog is like the cooler of those two characters, and like he has some of the best skins in the game. We have to admit that.
Oh yeah, that too. I mean, McCree has some good skins, but he also has some god awful skins. Roadhog, nothing but bangers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Now I could say that my favorite character is fucking Mercy, which I mean I do play a lot of, and I do have a print of her sitting behind us as we record. But if anybody knows me, they know that my favorite character is Torbjorn.
Oh yeah, that's fair. Torbjorn, I forgot.
Torbjorn is my like favorite character. There's something. One, he has, and we'll get to this. He has the spray that's just the Swedish Chef. Like, he has a daughter. He has a family. He has all these like things. His friendship with Bastion is great. Just there's something about like when you see a Torbjorn either on your team or the opposite team, you're just like, he's so funny to me. Like his character, he's just a gnomish man who's just mad at everything.
For the last time, he's Swedish. He has some of the best voice lines in the game.
He has some of the greatest voice lines.
Oh, he has the best voice lines.
And like when they changed him from having like the 3-stage turret to having a little bit more as a character, getting rid of the armor pack, giving that to Brig, and changing his ult, they took so much, like, they're like, I know that fans love this guy, that we're not changing what the ult's name is.
He's like the Tachanka of Overwatch.
I love Torbjorn. I have a Torbjorn pop figure sitting behind me also with his turret. He is like my all-time favorite character in the game because he's so... Everything about him is so funny. And he does not fail, and he's the only one with like the Santa skin. Like
he also has like the same thing going for him, where like a super tiny like pseudo dwarf Swedish guy. Like I mean like he's like basically fantasy dwarf, like straight out of Skyrim or some shit. But he's really just a dude, like a short dude.
Yeah.
And like his aesthetic is also one of those things where it like should not make any sense no matter what setting it's in. But it still works, and it has that same like flair of like McCree or Genji or Roadhog in my case.
And ever since me and Xavier ran into that dude who played 999,000 hours as Torbjorn only on his account,
it's amazing.
I can't get that image out of my head, and I will never find that man. But it's just like it speaks volumes of like Torbjorn. So that's my favorite character.
So yeah, that's the thing about all these characters. I mean, not so much Torbjorn, I feel like, but like with Genji, and like a lot of people's favorite characters are characters like Genji, Reaper, Soldier. Probably a lot of people like Roadhog now that I think about it. But the thing about them is, I don't know about this for Genji and Hanzo, but like Reaper was supposed to be from his own game. Soldier is the same thing. He's like originally from a comic, I think. And then like Genji and Hanzo, their entire like universe, it works inside Overwatch somehow, but it could be its own thing. And I feel like that's why they're such standout characters, because so much work went into making them interesting.
And McCree too.
And McCree too, but like less so. Like
yeah.
Like he fits in because he's like a way to explain the evolution of other characters. He's like a lens to look through. As opposed to like he kind of is, but he's not a reflection of the world, he's a reflection of other characters.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, speaking of Genji and Hanzo and all the work that's gone into them, I want to talk about cinematics, because my introduction to the game of Overwatch was my friend Amani, while we were supposed to be doing work for a math class because I was shit at math and was in like an extra math class. He showed me the Dragon cinematic, and I was like, this is the fucking dopest shit ever. Holy shit. Like, every single part of that is amazing. The amount of story in that one cinematic, I don't even know how long that thing is. It's probably like 10 minutes or less. And the amount of story in it is ridiculous. Like, the storytelling in it is great. Like, that is, by itself, an amazing, like, short. Like, with nothing to do with Overwatch, it's a great short. Because it literally...
Yeah, like, if it just came out, Like, if it just came out and was just, like, posted, like, it'd just be like, oh, damn, this is a really cool short story. Like,
yeah, it literally is such a perfectly isolated story, and in game it comes out so well, and like it has so many so many different things about it. Like the ending, just the facial expressions of Hanzo in it, like his realizations and stuff. There's so much good character work in it, and it says so much about both characters, where it's like, you know, Hanzo still has this weird shadow of his duty, like, and this anger, this self-hate that he like externalizes towards Genji, or like Genji's capacity to forgive him even though he like is far superior of a combatant now. It just says so much about that character, and then learning more about his journey to who he is now makes it like it's worth so much more seeing that cinematic. And just the visuals are beautiful, like the dragon and the deflect from Genji, and the way it shows both their ults so well. Even though you can't deflect like that, you can theoretically deflect a Hanzo ult, but you can't like do exactly that. It honestly shows, at the time at least, besides like Sonic Arrow, because that would be hard to kind of show off, I feel like. I mean, it could have been done, but it didn't need to be. It shows off like their entire kit so well in a cinematic without feeling forced.
Yeah.
Like the scatter arrows in there, their ults are in there really well, his dash, his deflect.
Shout out to Scatter Arrow.
I mean, Scatter Arrow doesn't exist anymore, but like, regardless, at the time, it's fucking amazing.
Yeah, for sure. Xavier?
yeah, that's the same one. I don't know, like, the fucking brother, like, Hanzo Genji one is the best one.
So, I'm sorry, I agree, it's the best one, but my favorite is Honor and Glory, the Reinhardt
That's
one.
a good one.
Oh, that one's really good too.
Because, I loved the Diva one, but Honor and Glory actually, like, it gave so much history to Eichenwald.
I think that one, besides Dragons, is the only one that actually gave me chills.
Yeah, it, like, every time I think about it, I'm just like, oh, it makes me sad.
It's so good.
And it shows why Reinhardt is the way he is.
Yeah.
And it tells you why he takes everything so seriously, and why, like...
Even though he has this, like, air of...
And it reflects to why Brig
childhood.
comes into, like, the game. Like, it shows why she, like, took up this, went from being just, like, I'm gonna help you make sure you don't get hurt, to I'm actually going to be, like, I'm gonna work by your side, and we're gonna follow this, like, this, why you do this together. But I guess going from... Because we skipped over Ultimate because Nathan was so excited.
I felt like it fit more here to go from character to cinematic. And I feel like from cinematic, the best next place is comic.
Yeah, but let's do comic. I don't know if Xavier, you've read any of the Overwatch comics.
Nope.
And
Really?
Nathan, have you?
Yeah, I've read... I don't know if I've actually read all of them. I've definitely watched dissections on all of them, so I'm, like, aware of all the content that's in them. I feel like I've actually read probably all of them, unless there's been some that came out more recently.
I haven't read any of the stories, and that's why we left them out, because there is, like, archive stories where they have,
I haven't
paragraphs of stuff, and I'm like, I don't want to read about Overwatch. I don't want to read Overwatch lore.
It's such a visual...
Like, it's so visual, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it fits better as comics than as just, like, fucking paragraphs.
Yeah, but, Nathan, since Xavier hasn't read, how about you fill him in on your favorite comic?
Okay.
First.
So this one's kind of difficult for me because they all have their merits. I can't think of the name of any of them, unfortunately.
Hold on, I'm looking them up. There's Train Hopper.
Oh no, I'll get there. It's the one I'm trying to think of is that I really enjoy, or that I have really enjoyed, but it's not my favorite. Is certainly the one where Zarya's hunting down Sombra as a reaction to the infiltration cinematic.
Oh my god!
Just because I like how those play together.
It's so good.
That one's fun, just because it's a fun one. I also really like, I believe it's Dragon Slayer, which is the one where you kind of get to see Reinhardt and Brig. I think that's Dragon Slayer?
Yeah, Dragon Slayer's the one where it shows that he thinks of everything as if it's like a medieval battle.
Like it's a fantasy thing, and I just like that one because it also leads straight into the Honor and Glory cinematic. But my favorite is Train Hopper, because it just shows you like so much, because Train Hopper was the first comic, but it was also the only thing we got about McCree until the cinematic where he fights Ash, which I can't think of. Is it called High Noon?
I think so.
I don't know. That cinematic, until then, we didn't really get much characterization outside of game of who McCree is. And it was just a fun thing to see, like, oh, these bad guys that are Talon or whatever, it's like, oh, they have some connection to McCree somehow because they're using his moves. And it was just cool to watch him be, like, a badass outside of game. And like, he's already through. There was a fun, like, oh, look, it's a train robbery and he's a cowboy, but he's not the robber, he's protecting the train. And it was just, I just felt like it was a very fun, interesting comic. And it was just, it's quick, but it works really well. It sets up a lot about the character. And I think that's all it really needed to do.
I think it's, for mine, I think it's Retribution, if this is the correct comic. I'm clicking on it to see. Yeah.
Oh, the one that sets up Retribution?
Yeah, so it's the comic that shows, like, the distrust that's happening in between, like,
and it sets up
Soldier
the mission
and
of
Moira,
Retribution.
and it shows, like, how not Soldier, but how Reaper became Reaper, and how he was getting, like, tested on by Moira, and all these, like, things that were being put into him. I think it really showed why, like, there was such a strain when, like, Overwatch ended up being disbanded and when Blackwatch got revealed. And I think it also says something about how, I believe McCree is asked at the end, like, oh, so why didn't you tell, like, what did you leave out? And he's like, I'm not going to tell you. And then it goes right into the Retribution thing where it's like, there's a lot that they didn't know. This mission was supposed to be easy, in and out. And I thought that was...
And then Reaper fucked it up, yeah.
Yeah, and I just thought there was something about, like, McCree had Reyes's back, no matter what, and even, like, to this day.
That's one of the things I've liked about McCree, is that he's such a gray character.
Uh-huh.
Like, unlike... Like, I mean, Soldier's presented as if he's supposed to be kind of a gray character, but I feel like they don't do it well, at least as well. Like, he's sort of an anti-hero in that he's, like, very Punisher, where he's like, oh, I do violence to bad people. But that a gray character does not make. Like, that's not necessarily a moral, like, a big moral thing. That's, like, you're either, you know, like, it's not a big thing to him. So it doesn't make him morally gray, because it's not, he's come to terms with it. But McCree, I think, is still deciding who he is as a character, and that makes his grayness more interesting. Or like Reaper. Like, technically you could say Reaper's kind of right to be mad, or at least he used to be, but now it's kind of unclear. But, like, that doesn't make him a morally gray character. That just makes him, like, a character that's easier to empathize with. And I think that's the same thing with Soldier, whereas, like, McCree is legitimately, like, he ain't good, he ain't bad, but he sure as hell ain't ugly. Like, that's him in total. I think you should definitely check out the comics, though, Xavier. I feel like you'd enjoy them.
Oh, sure, they're good.
Yeah, and then let's just do a lightning round real quick. We'll,
hit emote, spray, and highlight intro, and then finish with ultimate?
Yeah, let's just, like, real quick hit these things. Xavier, favorite highlight intro?
The fake out somber one, because that fucking gets me every time.
Okay.
That's a good one. My favorite intro, this is really dumb, but it's the one where Tracer does the backflip, specifically because of the source film animation that dude did where, like, she slams into the ground and gets hit by, like, 50 trucks. Because it was just so funny to me the first time I saw it, because it was just so shocking. Like, it's just so out of nowhere, but it's so perfect, and I can't not think about it every time I see it. Like, where it's like, how is she not just gonna faceplant? Like, it's just great. It's so absurd, and I love that one. I've loved that one forever because of that. Like, I'd probably pick one that's just good because it's good, but that one's my favorite.
My favorite is the dramatic hamster Hammond one, especially when he has, like, the sunglasses on his face and them shits, like, fall all crooked and then slide off his face.
Oh man, I loved when he had googly eyes with that shit. That was great.
Yeah, no, that is like
the sunglasses one is fucking amazing though.
It's so funny. So that's my favorite highlight intro.
Taylor, your favorite emote, go.
My favorite emote is Brig with the cat.
Brig with the cat, I like that one. My favorite emote is probably McCree's laugh emote, just because it feels like such a fuck you. Like, without even having to say a voice line. Like, it's more of an insult than the "a gift" spam. Like, it is just... It just feels so cocky. What's your favorite emote, Xavier?
Wait. I need to see which character... It's Zarya. Zarya's dance that's of that weird like YouTube video of like those people dancing.
Oh, the
in,
workout
like,
video.
exercise
Yeah,
gear.
they're like.
Yeah. There's some. I don't know. There's just something funny about like them leaning into like that Zarya thing and
That
like,
one's
giving
fun,
her
yeah.
that dance. It's funny to me.
And last, Xavier, and or Nathan.
I'll start. 'Cause
Nathan,
you
start.
Oh, okay. My favorite spray is the punch spray of the little kid with the cast on his arm because that is like such a meme, and it's like even Overwatch knows like they've redone that joke multiple times, like with the hacked version and with the Doomfist version. And like when I first started playing that game, my friends were like, no, what the fuck are you doing? Buy the punch spray. We're all using that. And then there was just like 4 people in a lobby who people would put their cute and they're just covered in this kid going, you can't see, but I did the weird face that he's making it because it's like not really a fully human like facial expression. He just has these dead eyes.
Yeah.
It's great. It's perfect.
Xavier?
The baby Winston with the peanut butter.
Aww.
My favorite is we didn't even do voice lines. That's funny.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I got you for voice line.
Hold on. My
'cause
favorite spray is the. Oh God. I guess I have to say the Echo Ghost in the Shell one that just came out because like it's so beautifully like drawn, and I think it just is like really like it's perfect for who Echo is. And I guess that now Xavier, you have the perfect voice line.
Nah, because there's always that one Reinhardt dude that spams the honor, glory, Reinhardt voice line.
That's a good
And
one.
every time that happens, I like die laughing. That's like my favorite one.
I think my
That one
favorite.
is
Okay,
pretty
my favorite voice line will have to be Doomfist. And they say. That shit is so funny.
See, I brought up a gift earlier. That one, I've seen so many times that I love it. I think that wins. My runner-up is that they immediately got the "you are already dead." Like, so instantly they hopped on that. Like so quickly they put that in the game that, like, they were ahead of the curve on that shit. And I just appreciate that. That would be my second favorite. But my favorite is a gift because it's just teabagging someone while spamming a gift for you is the funniest shit you can do. Like Reinhardt's great, but tactical crouching your crotch straight into a Genji's face while screaming a gift is amazing.
You're right. And then I guess we'll finish the episode out on our favorite ultimates, which I guess whose turn is it to go first?
Taylor, go ahead.
Okay, so my favorite ultimate.
Honor, glory, Reinhardt.
My favorite ultimate is. Oh gosh, there's so many.
Yeah, there's one for each character.
Yeah, you right.
Wait, I got it. So I have 2 answers. One is the cop-out answer, which is Echo.
That's exactly
that's
what I
what
was
I'm
talking
gonna
about.
say.
Because you have everybody's ultimate. But actually, I think Echo's ultimate is so fun because it's so absurd.
It's a cop-out, but it's not a cop-out.
Yeah, because it's like when you do get Echo's ult and you like turn into a Reinhardt and get like 2 shatters, like it's so fun. But I think for me, like my favorite ultimate in terms of like I don't know, just like game design, I think is like Genji's Dragon Blade. Like I don't know, there's something about how that ult is designed and with like Genji's whole kit that I think is just so cool. Like dash into the air and then Dragon Blade, and then I think the dash reset is such a cool design choice. And I don't know, there's something about Genji's whole kit, and this includes his ultimate, that is like just entrancing to like watch somebody really good at Genji use the Dragon Blade, or even trying to do it yourself, and even if you get like 3 kills, like you feel like you just did some shit. And also on that line, like I think another really good ultimate that is just like satisfying when you really do a good job at it is Earth Shatter.
Yeah.
I think that something about just like how Reinhardt's voice line and like the feeling of impact you get when you do hit a good shatter, I think that it's one of those moments where like Tayler knows, like when I'm playing Overwatch and I hit like a big shatter and I just start swinging as Reinhardt, like there's that moment where you just want to like scream.
Yeah.
And you just feel it in your soul. And I think that's when Overwatch is the best. When they hit you with all your different senses to make you just like want to scream and like ah!
Yeah.
I
also have two in mind. I think watching professional divas get like and doing, if you get by accident, by chance, by teaming up with like teammates, just by like sheer godly might that your teammates are actually listening, saying, "Hey, I have my like diva bomb," and then you get like a team wipe because the Sombra was like, "I hear you, let me go do this real quick." Combining that with like a Rhine or a Zarya or something else is just like a moment that you're like, "Oh yeah, that was really nice."
Oh yeah, it's all come together.
Yeah, it's all coming together. But my other one, I just have to say the finesse of pulling off a Pharah ult.
Yeah.
Is so satisfying. Like, because you so easily get targeted as Pharah.
Yeah, you're so vulnerable.
But when you do it, especially when I think watching like Ding and DM and like the Shanghai Dragons in general doing it last year, where I'm like, oh yeah, Pharah, that's the shit right there, dude. That's like, it also has that kind of like, after a good like justice rains from above, and seeing like the like scatter of where she all shot on the like point, it's like it's so satisfying when it's done well.
I think I also feel like I have two. I almost have three, because like I really like Sigma's ult just because of the synergy it has, where it doesn't have like the complete like disabling quality as much as like a Shatter or a Graviton Surge, where it's like they are locked in this one exact spot. Like they're shot up in the air, so it definitely like changes how your thought process and how to like combine that with things. So that one's fun to me, and it's just fun conceptually. I think it works really well with him as a character, because I do like Sigma. But my two actual ones that I really like is because they both like are so hard to make work and like get a massive amount of kills with them, but they both also have the like most shit like your pants feeling when you hear them go off, which is High Noon and is it just called Dragons? Hanzo's ult. What's that actually called?
I don't even know what it's like actually.
I thought it was just called Dragons.
I just know it's his ult.
Yeah, like you hear that Ryuga waga Teki no Kura and you're like, huh? Where is it? Or like the High Noon, you're like, where's the cowboy? Yeah. And I feel like both of them fit with their characters so well. And the story behind Hanzo's is just like it judges your sins and consumes you. Like he's like one of the only characters who just has like unexplained supernatural powers. Like he just has dragon magic. Like it's just a thing. And then McCree's is just him being a cool cowboy, like super stylistically, like the sun behind him, the tumbleweed rolls, and he gets those like clean 6 shots. There's just something so amazing stylistically about both of them. And about how hard it is to get, like, more than 2 kills with one of those ults without help, that they're really impressive to me.
I have to say a runner-up for me would have to be Death Blossom, just because of that animation where it's like, it's raining, man!
That's fair. Because it's so much like, edge.
Because it's like...
All the ultimates are amazing. Like, there's not one ultimate that sucks, besides maybe Symmetra's.
You hit the Death Blossom, and people are like, holy shit, what do you mean you're hitting the Death Blossom?
It's a very surprising one. Like, it has the, like, opposite feeling of High Noon or Dragons, where it's just like, where's it's coming from versus it's right in front of me, but why is it here?
Because he doesn't say anything, like, right before it.
Oh, no,
like,
it just happens.
It's in the ult. Like, it's not like Diva, where it's like... That shit
it's
you can
like
hear.
Most of them, I mean, like Reinhardt, you have like barely a second to react, but like so many of them, you get a warning, like you get a massive warning, or it doesn't have like a big impact on you. Besides like Roadhog and Reaper,
yeah, like those two just come out of nowhere.
They just start.
It's like cracks thing, and suddenly I'm in the air and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I think that was a nice.
Oh, Lucio's is good too, just because it feels so good to nail it right, and like you just come in with the let's break it down. It has that same feel of like as a hammer down, like it has that same vibe.
Yeah, but I think that was a good mental health.
That was a nice positivity we had there.
Mental health.
Shout out to the actual game of Overwatch for being like a legitimately like exceptionally made game. And I think, I guess to close it out, like one of the biggest reasons why I think Overwatch is so exceptionally made is obviously like you kind of need to have been playing it for a while to have this happen. But like I'll be on the phone with Taylor because we're in quarantine, and she'll be playing Overwatch, but I can hear in the background, and same with her. But like you can follow exactly, I'm sure I've said this before, but like you can follow exactly what's kind of happening in an Overwatch game just by listening to it, because the sound design is so excellent. And I think that combined with the characters and abilities and personalities within the game, and also just even like the game modes and map types, I think that Overwatch is like, a lot of people gave it crap, but if you really have played like a lot of different multiplayer type games, and especially hero shooters, like it's not that shocking that IGN would give like Overwatch a 10 out of 10, because as a hero shooter for the multiplayer shooter genre, like you can't really get a lot better than something like Overwatch.
Yeah, a crazy thing
compared to most other games.
Yeah,
for sure.
A crazy thing is like I never played, and Nathan can attest to this, I had never played like an online shooter first person kind of game, because one, I just always like had heard the like horror stories of being like a female gamer on online like content, and that's like the same reason why my best friend, who did the, if you remember, Rando Calrissian of the Overwatch League draft.
I'm definitely
buff.
winning that. Don't question anything about that.
Yeah, draft buff. I had convinced her to get the game because I was like, well, we can both play it. We don't have to be on like mic all the time. We can just play the game. And like, yeah, it gets irritating when like
it
things
simultaneously has like the most toxic but also most like loving community at the same time.
But it was one of those like, it was the first ever like shooter game I played that wasn't just a one person player. Like, it's just so unique, and it's like I had never wanted to play like a Call of Duty or any of those kind of games because it just was so to me.
It'd
and
be cool
like
if you did want to play Call of Duty.
the visuals were
trios.
just like I didn't connect with it, but there was something like, and this is like to attest to why Overwatch worked, is there was something like cute, cartoony about the characters, and that's and that what drew in a lot of people to begin with. But also I remember them being like, well, when we made these characters, we wanted them to fit from other games that you would like maybe be into like playing. So there's the offense, the defense, the tanks. Remember when that was a thing? Offense, defense, the tanks, and support. And like, if you're not good with like shooting a sniper, maybe, or you're not good with like Zenyatta's projectiles, you can do Mercy, and it's still a valid support option. You know, if you're not good at reloading, which I'm not good at reloading, and you want to play tank, you have Diva, or you have Reinhardt, and it's like, here you go. These are things that you can still play the game even if you're not good at shooting. Like,
and I feel like
Soldier is your run-of-the-mill
like shooter character. I feel like even aesthetically, like there's a character for literally anyone. Like, oh, you like your favorite video game is Red Dead, play McCree or Ash. Your favorite, like, you love Metal Gear Solid Rising Revengeance. For some reason, that's your favorite game. Play Genji. You really like Green Arrow. Play Hanzo. I don't know. I was reaching there, but like there is kind of a character for anyone.
Yeah. Don't be racist. Black Lives Matter. Like, I don't know.
The
Just
world
don't be
could
an
use more
asshole.
heroes. A cab. Roll outro.
Better run, better take cover.